Welcome back to our Vocab Builder series. We've spent the last several videos exploring root words that begin with B, and now we're starting a brand new chapter, C roots. And this journey will last a while because there are so many English words beginning with the letter C. In fact, C is the third most common starting letter in English, right after S and P. So you can imagine how many important exam words and advanced vocabulary terms begin with C. That's why in the next dozen videos, we'll focus on these C roots, especially those from Latin and Greek, to help you quickly understand, remember, and confidently use advanced English words. Today we begin with one of the most useful and productive Latin roots, CADERE, which means to fall. From this single root, we get English words like cadaver, accident, and casualty, all connected to the idea of falling or something that befalls. But notice how different they look and sound. Cad, cid, cas. Why is that? It's because Latin often changed the form of a root depending on how it functioned in a sentence, for grammatical or phonetic reasons. The basic form cad appeared when the root stood alone or at the beginning of a word. However, when prefixes were added, like ad, meaning to, or in, meaning upon, the sound shifted slightly to cid to make pronunciation smoother. From our earlier vocab builder lesson, we know that the D in the prefix ad often changes its spelling for easier pronunciation, a process called assimilation. So ad plus cadere, to fall, became accidere, which gives us the English word accident. Now, the spelling cas comes from the past participle form of cadere, which was casus, meaning a fall or an event. That form produced English words with cas, such as case, casual, and casualty. As a result, English inherited several spelling forms of the same root, cad, cid, and cas. And sometimes we even see a related Greek form, kata, meaning down. Let's look at English words that grew from each of these forms.
1. The cad family, the basic form. Words in this group keep the original cad spelling and relate to falling, flowing, or rhythmical movement. Cadence, formed from the base cad, referring to the rhythmic rise and fall of sound, similar to beat, rhythm, or tempo. Example, the song has a steady musical cadence. Cascade, meaning a series of falls, used for anything flowing or dropping in stages, similar to waterfall, torrent, or series. Example, water cascaded down the rocks. Cadaver, meaning fallen body, referring to a dead body used for study, synonymous with corpse or remains. Example, students examined a cadaver in anatomy class. When the prefix d, meaning down, away, is added, the spelling cad retains, because d ends in a vowel, so no sound change or assimilation was needed. Decay, meaning gradual decline, deterioration, or breakdown, similar to rot, spoil, or breakdown. Example, the fruit began to decay quickly. Decadence, meaning moral, cultural, or social decline, often linked with indulgence, luxury, or corruption. Example, the story shows the decadence of wealth and luxury. The cad spelling stayed because D ends in a vowel, so no sound change or assimilation was needed.
Now let's look at the CID family. When cadere takes on prefixes like ad, to, in, on, or con, together, the root spelling often shifts to cid. Words in this family usually relate to events or happenings that fall into place by chance. Take accident, for example. Literally, it means a falling toward. Today it refers to an unexpected event, mishap, or misfortune. Example, She slipped on ice and had a minor accident. Notice that an accident usually implies some harm or negative consequence. Compare this with incident, which means a falling upon or simply an event or occurrence. Example: there was a small incident at the office yesterday. Unlike an accident doesn't have to involve harm. It's a neutral term for anything that happens. And its noun form, incidence, refers to the rate or frequency of something. Then we have coincide, which literally means to fall together or to happen at the same time. Example: our vacations coincide this year. Here, the sense of alignment or timing reflects the idea of things falling together. Occident comes from ob, meaning toward, and CADERE, referring to the west, the direction where the sun falls. Example: he studied the cultures of the Occident. Next, deciduous literally means tending to fall down, as in with leaves that drop each season. Synonyms include shedding or seasonal. Example: maple trees are deciduous and lose their leaves every fall. Finally, recidivism means falling back again, usually referring to someone returning to a previous bad habit or crime, with synonyms like relapse or backsliding. Example: the program aims to reduce recidivism among former offenders. You might notice something curious here. Even though the prefixes d and re end in vowels, these words still use sid instead of cad. This isn't about pronunciation, it's due to Latin grammar conventions. Deciduous comes from a Latin adjective already built from the verb. Recidivism comes from the Latin perfect form of the verb. Now let's move on to the CAS family. This group comes from the past participle form of cade, casus, which means a fall or an event. From this Latin form, English inherited a set of words that often relate to chance, occurrences, or particular events. Take case, for example. It refers to a situation or occurrence, something that befalls someone. You can think of it as a situation, instance, or example. Example: this is a classic case of miscommunication. Then there's casual, which describes something happening by chance, unplanned, or informal. It conveys a sense of spontaneity and ease. Example: we had a casual meeting over coffee. From the same family comes casualty, which refers to someone or something that suffers in an accident, war, or disaster. Think victim, loss, or sufferer. Example: several casualties were reported after the storm. Occasion comes from obcade, literally to fall toward, and refers to a particular event or happening. Synonyms include event, occurrence, or celebration. Example: it was a special occasion for the whole family. We also have casement, which originally meant an opening that falls or drops, and now refers to a window that swings open. Example: she opened the casement to let in fresh air. Finally, casualness describes the quality of being unplanned or happening by chance, conveying a sense of spontaneity, informality, or unpredictability. Example: his casualness made the conversation feel relaxed. So, the CAS family captures the idea of falling, chance, and particular occurrences, all tracing back to the Latin participle casus.
Next, let's look at some related words that entered English through French. One clear example is chute, which means a fall or slope in French. From this, English got parachute, a device that slows your fall from an airplane, and garbage chute, a tube in a tall building for trash to fall through. Now, turning to Greek, English also borrowed the prefix kata, which means down or falling downward. These words often carry a similar sense of falling as the Latin cadere. For example, catastrophe literally means a turning down, referring to a sudden disaster. Example: the earthquake was a catastrophe for the city. Cataclysm describes a violent breaking down or flood, often sudden and dramatic. Example, the volcano eruption caused a cataclysm in the region. Catalog originally meant to list things downward, like arranging items in order. Example, the library maintains a catalog of all its books. Cataract can mean a waterfall, or in medicine, a clouding of the eye. Example, the river's cataract was breathtaking. He later had surgery for a cataract in his eye. Finally, catapult is something that hurls objects downward or forward with force. Example, the castle defenders used a catapult to launch stones at invaders. These French and Greek words expand the CADERE family in English, all keeping the core idea of falling, downward movement, or events falling into place.
That's all for today. We've explored words related to falling, all tracing back to the Latin verb cadere. In our next video, we'll dive into an even more productive Latin verb, capere, which means to take, and see how it shaped countless English words. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next Vocab Builder session.